Hi everyone, it's Milfia and we're back for a new video on Hytale UP. In a previous video, we talked about the races that can be played in Hytale. Skeleton, Slothians, humans, dark elves. We thought we could most certainly play one of these characters in Hytale's adventure mode. A blog post about the creation tools confirmed at least one thing. In creative mode and therefore in our own servers or the servers that allow it, we can transform ourselves into any creatures of the game by simply pressing a button. In fact, there are three things not to be confused within Hytale. First, we have the adventure mode. It has been confirmed that we'll be able to create our avatar by embodying a species of our choice. For the moment, only human and elven races have been shown. Secondly, we have the multiplayer servers and therefore the creative mode with the modding tools. There, we can shape the world of our dreams either on our own server or on other people's servers. It is in this mode that you can turn into a pigeon, cactus, or dragon at any time. Maybe it will be possible to turn into a dragon in the adventure mode via a powerful enchantment or a potion. We'll see about that! The third important element, factions. In adventure mode, factions are a group of people or creatures with the same culture or god. Today, we'll see together which factions we will be in contact with in the game and gather all the information we have about them. Their culture, their story, their way of life, and the different types of individuals they bring together. Let's begin! Evil's faction. Varin was presented as the main antagonist of the game. We know that he possesses the magic of the void and that he is not from Orbis. If we look more closely at the images of the planets, we can try a guess that he's from Nexus. In any case, we know that he has its own emblem and therefore its own faction. This character has an army made up of void spawns, skeletons, dragons, large hostile creatures wearing his mark everywhere, but that's not all. His symbol is a diamond, which is also found on other creatures such as these spiders, for example. He seems to have a hold on these last ones, as if he was turning them into a pawn in his service, changing their IDs and above all, corrupting them. In our opinion, the Outlanders were literally corrupted by Varin and are now in his service. This faction will certainly use the magic of the void, given Varin's color and the swords and armor of these soldiers. We can imagine that it will be a destructive magic. Varin's clan will therefore be the main enemy faction under the name of the Evil. It will be necessary to acquire proper equipment and probably use the magic of light to defeat the different creatures at his service. Be careful! Not all the creatures in the world of Orbis are under Varin's command. This faction only includes creatures wearing this famous diamond. For example, ghouls are simple creatures that will attack you like goblins, trogs, or sand tigers. In contrast, Outlanders, Void Eyes, and Evil Warriors are part of the Evil faction. Faction means interactions between the player and the NPCs. If it will be difficult to communicate with these flying eyes, there is no doubt that we will be able to have discussions with Varin, his henchmen, or the Outlanders. Gaia's faction. Gaia is, for her part, a benevolent goddess living on Orbis as opposed to Varin. She has 5 ponytails, and at the end of each of them is attached a stone representing an element. The only one missing is the void. This goddess therefore possesses all the elements except Varin's. Gaia will certainly be the main theme of our adventure. She'll be the one who will give us most of the quests directly related to the scenario. Gaia therefore does not have a faction as such, but is a divinity that several factions support. These factions will therefore wage war against Varin and his allied factions, if we consider the Outlanders as a faction in their own right. In particular, we know that the Quebecs greatly worship Gaia. They are probably the ones who respect her the most, and they do not have their own symbol, but only the one of the goddess. Humans. It is the only faction that does not own and wear an emblem. And for good reason! It will certainly be the faction embodied by the player in adventure mode. Humans will be able to choose between being a magician, an archer, or a fighter. They will also have the ability to collect materials, manufacture various weapons and armor, and create splendid buildings. We know from this concept art that humans will be able to make statues of Gaia. As we said, there is a good chance that we will be on her side and fill quests either directly for her or to wake her from her eternal sleep. Even if human faction seems to be our basic faction, this image makes us doubt. What if, in addition to choosing a playable race when creating our character, we could also choose a faction to belong to? This image shows us a human camp located in Zone 2's desert of Orbis. No doubt that other humans will be present in the game. They do not seem hostile since Gaia's mark is inscribed on the wall of the military camp. That said, they seem to be protecting themselves from something, probably Scarax. But the weird thing is that this military camp is designed like a dungeon, as if we would have to be careful when entering and fighting NPCs in order to achieve great rewards. Two theories. At the beginning of the game, we can choose a faction that is against humans, and we will have to face it. Or the humans have deserted and this military camp is under the domination of the Scarax or Outlanders that we will have to defeat. Anyway, the buildings look like they're in ruins. One last thing, Tessa and Kairos, the two mysterious protagonists, are visibly part of the human faction and support Gaia if we judge by the symbol of their armor. But it seems that Kairos is being corrupted by Varin, while Tessa will do everything to free him. Quebecs. The Quebecs are creatures halfway between animals and plants. They move and live in a civilized way, but they don't need food or water to survive. Only the sun is essential to them. They live in a village located in Zone 1 of Orbis. The music associated with the Quebecs confirms how happy these little creatures are. In their village, we will certainly have the opportunity to trade with them, discover their way of life and their history in greater depth. Despite their cute looks, it seems that they are not totally harmless to their enemies either. We have seen them armed with a wooden spear and a leaf armor or hunting a wild boar. We know that these creatures live in the same area as the fearsome Trolls, but they don't really seem to be up to the task of confronting these creatures. We can therefore imagine that we will receive some quests from them to destroy Trolls' camps. Moreover, the dungeon in Zone 1 seems to be in a tree, so it will certainly be the Quebecs who will lead us there, but we don't know yet for what purpose, although we can imagine there will be a link with the Trolls. These creatures may try to damage the tree, the true force of nature, which would of course not be without revolting the Quebecs. Given their close connection with nature, it is to be expected that they will possess either the magic of water or the magic of the earth. Or maybe both, who knows? The Quebecs are the third and last people to make statues of Gaia and are therefore also on their side. Trolls. These creatures living in Zone 1 will certainly be one of the first we will meet along with the Quebecs. Trogs are species of large trolls armed with heavy weapons and living in villages led by chiefs who are larger and stronger than the others. We know of 5 different types of Trog: the sentinel, armed with a spear; the hunter, armed with a sword and accompanied by a tamed wolf; the warrior, equipped with heavy armor and a large battle axe; the shaman, armed with a scepter that could certainly allow him to practice the magic of the earth; and finally, the chief, equipped with a large armor and a huge sword. We know they will be hostile, but they do not seem to be allied to Varin. His mark is not visible anywhere on them. They have their own runes. A mark or a rune does not necessarily mean faction. Concerning the Trogs, we can't really talk about faction, because they don't seem to worship any god, we can't talk to them, and they don't seem to have a culture of their own. That being said, their way of ranking themselves and living in camps made us willing to give them importance. Phyrans. These creatures populate Zone 2 and have their own emblem and hidden village, where we may be able to trade with them to obtain desert materials and learn more about their fascinating history. We also know that the Phyrans have shamans among them. These people are an important part of the history of Zone 2. We can expect to receive from them many quests in connection with their enemies, the Scaraks. For example, it is known that the Sand Empress is held prisoner in the palace by the Scaraks. The quest to free her will most certainly be given to us by the Phyrans themselves. The symbol of wind and freedom can be found on the bracelets worn by the Phyrans. We can therefore suspect that these people will have control of the wind. The wind is particularly beloved element of the goddess. It seems these little firefoxes are on Gaia's side. Scaraks. This is the second race living in Zone 2, also under their own symbol. However, it cannot be said that the Phyrans and Scaraks maintain good neighborly relations. Indeed, these giant ants had previously enslaved the Phyrans. It is not clear how the latter acquired their freedom, but it is easy to imagine that it was thanks to a Phyran rebellion. Therefore, it is inconceivable that these two factions are on the same side. So, we suspect that the Scaraks are on Varin's side or simply hostile creatures. It should be noted that we know that Scaraks were once used by the Sand Empress to take care of enemies or help build tall buildings. This last one rebelled. The Empress is now locked up in the Palace of the Sand, a building that the Scaraks certainly helped to build in the past. Their emblem is therefore in reality the one of the Empress, which they have forcibly appropriated. There seems to be no evidence that these people practice magic, but if they were to do so, it would certainly be the magic of the wind or the earth. Outlanders. These people of Zone 3 do not have their own emblem. However, we are sure that this is a human faction since a blog post says so. These people were presented to us as very defensive and territorial, and above all, as the biggest threat in this area. There are several types of Outlanders: leaders, defenders armed with a shield and sword, rangers, archers, protecting the camp by shooting at anything that moves outside, priests, seems to behave like chief and use the magic of water to protect their own, warriors and cult who live secluded in their camp. In addition to the magic of water, we know that the Outlanders practice the magic of the void, and we suppose that they are enslaved by Varin, thanks to the green and purple colors and the many diamonds in the images. The story seems rather gloomy. How humans came to be corrupted by Varin and look like wittish monsters. Fauns. These humanoid beings that are the fauns keep a lot of mystery about them. Indeed, we do not have much information about them. These creatures represent nature by their appearance and the way they attack. Fauns wear masks and hoods on their head and attack using animals such as the wolves we see in this concept art. These people also have their own emblem, but they seem to be completely independent. Nothing seems to connect them to Gaia or Varin. It would therefore be a faction living in self-sufficiency, in communion with nature. This leads us to believe that they will behave as guardians of nature and attack anyone who sets foot in them. One can therefore imagine that the Fauns will be a hostile faction, but not attached to Varin in any way, although there is a chance that they will be corrupted. We also see on this concept art that wildlife is surrounded by wolves, and while in other images we see an outlander fighting a wolf. Will these two peoples be enemies? In addition, it can also be noted that the wolf attacking the outlander has blue eyes, while those accompanying the faun have red eyes. Would this particular eye color be a sign of the control that faun seems to exert over them? We can imagine that these beings will practice several types of magic, since each element is linked to nature. Slothians. We have extremely little information about this faction, except that they look a little bit like a sloth, live in caves under the Zone 4, and have their own emblem. We have no indication of the Slothian bias. They do not seem to be able to make Gaia statues, but nothing seems to link them to Varin either. We will certainly learn more in a future blog post. To summarize, playable races and factions have been confirmed in Hytale. If we know that Dark Elves and Humans will indeed be two playable races and that Outlanders are an old human faction, we have no more information on the subject. This video has especially helped us to make the link between the runes and other symbols present on this iconography and the different peoples of Orbis. To sum up, it can therefore be said that Zone 1 has two factions, the Trolls and the Quebecs. Zone 2 is composed of Firans, Caracs, all the Sand Empire and humans. Zone 3 highlights Outlanders and Fauns. Zone 4, filled with terrible dinosaurs, also shelters the Slothians in its depths. As far as Varin's faction is concerned, the different creatures seem to be scattered in all the areas in order to prevent us from advancing in the game's history. We will certainly soon discover other factions for Zone 5 and 6, the latter two not yet revealed. A faction is therefore a people in its own right, with its own environment and way of life, history, capacities and classes. There is no doubt that they will play a key role in Hytale's scenario, giving us quests or blocking our way. So, are you looking forward to launching Hytale when it comes out, creating your character, choosing your own race and faction, and finally meeting all these great creatures inhabiting Orbis? Tell us everything in the comments. While waiting for the next video, don't hesitate to subscribe to the channel, and I invite you to join our Discord, it's great! Thank you, and I see you soon on Hytale UP!